Hello, buenos dias. My name is Wongchuk Shakaba. I am a Tibetan American from the New York City region. I am on the boards of U.S. Tibet Committee and Tibet Justice Center, and I'm co-editor of an online review called Tibetan Political Review. I'm very happy to speak to you here today about Tibet, and I do hope that Mexican people will support the Tibetan people in our struggle for freedom, self-determination, and basic human rights and human dignity. I think it's very important that Mexican people do get involved in Tibet and Tibetan affairs because I think there is some analogy with Mexican history. Mexico, as everyone knows, was colonized by Spain for several hundred years, and Tibet is being currently colonized by China. And Mexicans have also experienced governments that were tyrannical and did not provide democracy. And Tibet is currently governed by a government that is also tyrannical, oppressive, and does not allow any form of democracy for the Tibetan people. I think it's also important that Mexican people understand that what Tibetans are asking for is basic dignity, basic human rights, and basic ability to control our own affairs. That's what we're asking for. Tibet was an independent nation prior to 1949. The People's Liberation Army invaded around that time and annexed Tibet into part of China, and they've been ruling it ever since. But the Tibetan people have been rising up and resisting the Chinese oppression, the Chinese attempt to assimilate Tibetans into China, and also to make Tibet an integral part of the Chinese state. We've seen that in 1959 when there was a major uprising, in the 1980s when there was also a big uprising, and more recently in 2008 when there were over 150 demonstrations in Tibetan cities across the entire Tibetan plateau. And we even see that now more recently and more tragically with the self-immolations and deaths of at least 30 Tibetans, most of them monks and nuns, and most of them very young as 18 years old, have self-immolated to protest Chinese oppression and to call for the return of His Holiness the Dalai Lama back to Tibet. I think there are many ways that Mexicans in Mexico can help Tibet, not only in just participating in demonstrations against the Chinese government or Chinese leaders, which is the very obvious thing, but also in very simple ways. And the basic way that you can do so is simply find out more about Tibet and more about Tibetan history and Tibetan culture. And there is a lot of websites about Tibetan history, Tibetan culture, and we hope that more and more websites will be available in the Spanish language as well as in English and other languages. And currently now there is a movement inside Tibet which is also grown outside called Lhakar, which is White Wednesday in Tibetan. And Lhakar is important because it is considered the Dalai Lama's soul birthday, soul day. And so Tibetans do something special, whether it's wearing Tibetan clothes, eating only Tibetan food, speaking only in Tibetan, or donating to Tibetan monasteries. That's how they do it inside Tibet. And I think Mexicans can also participate in Lhakar by every Wednesday doing something very simple, whether it's saving some money every Wednesday, a small amount of money, so that you can make a donation to a Tibetan human rights group in Mexico at the end of the year. It can even just be going to websites about the Dalai Lama and listening to some of his teachings, or reading a passage from one of the Dalai Lama's many books. So there are many simple ways that Mexican people can participate in Lhakar, and by doing so, spreading the awareness of the plight of the Tibetan people, and to think that there is hope that Latin Americans will increase their knowledge of Tibet and increase their support for the Tibetan people. We all know that China does a lot of business in Latin America, including Mexico, and we all know that there's always a tension between the imports of Chinese-made goods and how that may take away from jobs in Mexico and in other Latin American countries as well as the United States. And to be aware of that and to understand that you do have options, whether it's refusing to buy a Chinese-made good or Chinese-made product. If you can find another product that is made in Mexico of the same type and quality, buy the Mexican-made product. Don't buy the Chinese-made product. Even if the Mexican-made product may be a little bit more expensive, try to buy your own homegrown products. And that's one way you can sort of, on your own, send a message that you do not support the way the Chinese government is treating the Tibetan people or treating their own people. You don't even have to limit it to Tibetans. The Chinese government treats their own Chinese people pretty badly. And you can also try to communicate to your own leaders, whether it's writing to them or getting a message to them somehow online through YouTube or Facebook, by saying that you want your government to support the Dalai Lama, meet the Dalai Lama when he wants to visit Mexico. Ask the Mexican government and your own politicians to show some public support for the Tibetan people and for Tibetan human rights. So gracias for those Mexicans who have already supported us. We do appreciate support from the Mexican people, Mexico, and Latin Americans, and we hope for your continued and growing support. Thank you.